No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. We're going to be talking some more about Social Security this morning, but I'm going to share some reasons for this and why I spend as much time on Social Security as I do. It's such a big part of retirement. For some people, this could be 40 to 50% of your retirement income coming from Social Security. And there's some interesting statistics I want to share with you. One of those being that even though the Social Security system, we find that you get more, quite considerably more, as much as like 75% more benefits if you delay from age 62, say, to age 70. However, the statistics are that more than 2/3 of Americans actually take money before their full retirement age. In other words, start taking those Social Security benefits in advance. Now, there's an interesting article that I shared this is a couple of months ago, I believe, at least, maybe 3 months even. This was from New York Associated Press, and it had to do with a study that was done. NORC, Center for Public Affairs Research, as well as research, and the Associated Press did a poll. And here's what they found. 3/4 of the people in households making less than $50,000 a year, and 2/3 of those making between $50,000 and $100,000 a year would have difficulty if they had to come up with $1,000 due to an emergency. Okay, so let me cover that again. Think of this. This is pretty astounding. 3/4, 75%, 3 in 4 households who make less than $50,000 a year would have trouble coming up with $1,000. Now that you might say, well, okay, that kind of makes sense. But this part, when you look at people households making between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, and 2/3 of those households would still have trouble coming up with $1,000 if they had an emergency, like a medical bill or something like that was needed. All right, and here's the other, and this is more astounding yet. Even for the country's wealthiest 20%, households making $100,000 a year or more, 38% of those polled said they would have difficulty coming up with $1,000 cash. Okay, so when we look at that, what is it telling us? It's telling us that for a lot of people, saving is still difficult. When we look at the Great Recession, right, that started back in 2008, and we look at this period of recovery, and yet we still see that people are struggling. They're having trouble saving money and building up their household net worth. And this is one of the areas when it then comes to when you take Social Security. One of the things that happens with this is that why are people taking early then? Why wouldn't they wait to get a bigger income if they're already struggling financially? And maybe that's the answer, isn't it? Because they're already struggling financially, because they haven't saved enough leading up to retirement during their working years, that now here's the other part. When we saw jobs drop off so much, all right, that's what happened. Was a lot of people that were, say, eligible for Social Security at age 62 perhaps had looked at, in many instances, that they were saying, well, I'm just going to wait and postpone. I'm not going to retire yet. I want to keep working until at least I'm 66, maybe even up to 70, right? And what happened, though, when they lost their jobs, they weren't able to get another job, and they thought, wow, I need the money. I'm going to go apply for Social Security, and I'm taking that benefit early. And unfortunately, they then lock in that lower rate, okay, of what they're going to receive. Yes, they're going to get cost of living increases, but as we know, at maybe 2% a year, that's not going to be enough to make the difference, okay? Or it's going to certainly make it harder for them later. Here's another interesting statistic that came out of this same poll. Americans struggling to save isn't new, by the way. The CBS News and New York Times polls going back more than 20 years show that a majority of Americans would have difficulty in covering a $1,000 emergency. In fact, there was a 2015 study by the Federal Reserve, and it found that almost half of the respondents said they would even have trouble coming up with $400. If they had an emergency expense, they would probably have to either sell something or borrow the money. And this is where, when it comes to savings, 54% of working Americans, okay, over half, say they are not very or not at all confident that they will have enough money saved to retire. Only 14% say that they could retire on time. Think about that now, okay? Now, when I have new clients come in and we sit down, this is one of the big questions, of course, is I want to retire at whatever age it might be, right? Or I want to at least cut back, or I'm going to change, or whatever it might be. And I want to make sure financially I'm going to be able to do that. And that's what we do. A lot of the reports and the analysis that I provide for them is in what their financial futures are going to look like, and are they going to be able to retire when they want to? Are they going to have enough money to attain and maintain that standard of living and quality of life no matter how long they might live? All right, that's like the number one question that we get. And then the other is, am I invested correctly to accomplish those goals? Do I have enough money? And is my money invested correctly? Am I doing the best I can to make sure that my money's working for me and that I'm going to be able to attain these goals? And that's where we start weighing all these things. Well, what are we going to have for Social Security? Are you going to have a pension? How much do you have saved? What do you have for income now? What's that income on those areas going to be later? What about assets? Okay, what do I have that I'm going to be able to, retirement accounts, IRAs? Do I have any other property, real estate, income producing property? You know, what are my resources here to be able to get by in retirement when those paychecks stop? All right, that's the question. And this is where the analysis is so helpful. And when I go through that and show people, for the most part, we're able to put together strategies that allow them to, in fact, get exactly what they want and be able to attain and maintain their standard of living, quality of life, to make sure their money's working as hard for them as they work for it in retirement, right? And leading up to retirement. And then also, not only that it's working, but it's working safely. It's reducing that volatility, that risk, so that they're not going to have to worry about some of the different risks out there, like sequence of returns and some of the things that I talk about here each week. So one of the things when we get into talking about Social Security is so you understand the system, so when you're making decisions about when to take Social Security, it's based on facts, not, you know, like guessing, if you will, and I'll tell you, even calling the Social Security Administration and that hotline is not necessarily going to help you when it comes to planning. No more than calling the IRS is going to help you when it comes to tax planning. And this is one of the other parts of the plan is, of course, when we want to make sure our money's making as much, we want to make sure our income is as high as it can be, we want to reduce risk and volatility, we don't want to lose or go backwards from where we're at today, right? And what's another way to do that? Well, we want to minimize taxes, don't we? Who wants to pay more taxes? That's more money wasted. So the more we can reduce our taxes both before and in retirement, the more important, the more money we're going to have, all right, for our income needs in retirement to accomplish our financial goals. So now, to put this in perspective again on the Social Security side, if you take early, let's say your full retirement age, whether it's, you know, it's not right now for most people that are really paying attention, is particular at this point, it's 66 to 67, okay, depending on when you were born as to what year that's going to be. So let's say 66 for right now. For those retiring today, or those reaching full retirement age today, that's the case. For those at 62, it's the case. So what's that mean? If you were going to get $2,000 a month, when you get your statement from Social Security, now let's say, well, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. You can go online. The website is ssa.gov, and you can register on that website so that you can look up your Social Security statement, and you can look at what your numbers are, what you would get at 62, what you would get at 66, what you would get at 70, all of that information. It'll show your earnings history and then the importance of that. It'll give you a little bit of content in terms of what these numbers mean. So your earnings history, that's one of those, right? You got to have 10 years or 40 quarters, that is, of work to qualify for Social Security benefits. And then they're going to look at the top 35 years out of your entire work history, and they're going to adjust for inflation, all right, to bring those numbers into current day dollars. They take the top 35 years, and that's the basis for how they calculate what your Social Security benefit's going to be. Now, they do all that for you, and they show you. Here's if your income stays the way it is based on its last reported year showing on your statement, then this is what you'll get at age 62, or an estimate, a very close estimate of what you'll get at age 62, at age 66, and so on. Now, again, every month it actually goes up from the age of 62 on up to age 70 that you delay taking benefits. So, again, back to my example. So at age 66, if you were going to receive, say, $2,000, but you took at age 62 instead, you would only get $1,500 a month. So that's $18,000 a year at age 62 versus $24,000 a year if you waited until age 66. So in addition, not only are you getting more money, right, on your, which is considerable amount per year, but the other part is, right, you get 62 to 66. If you keep working, then you're also going to have those additional earnings and ability to save money. So it's going to better position you for retirement. If you delay further, whether you work or not working, maybe, you know, depending on your resources, but let's say from 66 to 70, now you get even a bigger increase. That $2,000 would go up to $2,640, basically 8% a year, plus there's COLAs and stuff that calculate into that as well. But that's $2,640. Now we're talking like almost $32,000 that you would get if you waited to age 70. So people are living longer, but we do the calculation for you. Now when we're going to take a break, when we come back, I'm going to put out an offer for the first 10 callers, and part of that is to help you. One of the things I do when I meet with people is we do the numbers. We say, here's when you're going to be breaking even. If you take it 62, then this is what's going to happen by age 75 or 80. If you waited until 66 or 70, what the effect of that, the impact of that would be. And that's a big part of helping you with your planning, all right? So join us here. We're going to get into that and more when we return here on the Retirement Report.